Hey everyone, History Mystery Man here, coming to you today from Evansville, Indiana, home of Evapar. Founded in 1912 as an auto parts supplier, the company grew into an industrial equipment powerhouse with locations across the Midwest and even in the South. Now you know there's a good story here. Welcome to Evapar. Let's go see what's inside. How you doing? Good, good. Is Jason States available? All right.
Would you like a water or anything?
Oh no, thank you. I'm good. I'm all set. How long have you worked at Evapar?
Just since April.
April. Oh, you're brand new here.
Yeah.
How do you like it?
It's good.
Okay, good. Good deal. Thank you so much.
I started with the company. There was 17 team members, and we're basically 114 now.
Well, it started with just 2, I think, in 1912. So
It did.
You're growing.
It did, and it's just exponential. I mean, the last 10, 15 years has just been rampant growth.
Yeah. Even with the world getting as challenging as it's been, even in the last 2 years,
Yep.
You're still on the march, growth-wise?
Absolutely.
Really?
Well, I mean, part of our motto is if we're not growing, we're dying.
Yeah.
And so we've got to adapt, and we've got to make changes all the time.
Jason, you gotta get busy living or get busy dying. It sounds like you guys are living here at Evapar.
Majority of our work is out in the field, but there are times where we've got to bring things in to rebuild them, and so we've got different areas that we can work in. We've got different run rooms. We can bring compressors in and shut doors, bring the temperatures up, and just really put them through their paces before we give them back to our customers. From us packaging engines systems for OEMs.
What am I looking at here?
So-
It looks like an engine to me. But
Yeah, this is Doosan engines.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these will be used in agriculture or in the airline industries. The mobile ground support units that the airplanes plug into while they're sitting in a tarmac. These will be what charges those batteries and keep things going while they're sitting there.
Got it. That's interesting. Did you mirror your leadership style off of Dave Daisy? Did he sort of give you the space to create your own? How'd you become the leader you are?
A couple different ways. One, I've always been grounded in my faith in my Lord Jesus Christ, and then taking that same leadership skills from church all the way through business as well. And Dave was an excellent example and somebody I looked up to, and he definitely has mentored all of us here at Evapar on how to always do what's right.
Yeah, that's actually, I think that's one of your mottos, isn't it?
It is.
That's simple, it's basic, but it works every time.
It does. And there's times it may cost the company, but it's the right thing to do.
So Evapar Products, founded in Evansville as an automotive parts operation serving the emerging automotive market. Original name, we noticed, Kramer Brothers. Do we know anything at all about the Kramer Brothers?
Herman Kramer originally started it in 1912. His brother Oliver joined him in 1917 when Herman left to go fight World War I. And so Oliver ran it while Herman was in Europe in the war, and then Herman came back from the war in 1919. These are the original articles of incorporation.
That's interesting. State of Indiana, Department of State. Evansville Auto Parts Company.
It was not incorporated until October 3rd, 1928. Oliver Kramer retired. He was of ill health, and he retired in the 50s, 52 or 53, something like that. So Herman had 2 daughters, Peg and Kitty. Peg married Wyman Walton.
Okay.
After World War II, and of course the war effort all died down, they weren't building bombers and planes and all that anymore. Mr. Walton came to work for Mr. Kramer at Evansville Auto Parts. Mr. Kramer started phasing out and retiring, and Mr. Walton became president of Evansville Auto Parts at some point. I don't know exactly when. So then Mr. Walton, when I went to work at Evansville Auto Parts in '78, Mr. Walton was the president running the company. I was in different roles in the company. Mr. Walton was ready to retire, and didn't have a succession plan. Like I mentioned earlier, you learn from everything you watched that
Sure.
isn't wise.
That didn't work, and what worked and what didn't.
Right. We worked out the deal to buy it out. So basically it was, the Kramers, and then Mr. Walton took over. And then, like I said, Mr. Kramer actually died in 1981.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Walton, when he died in 92. He was 71 years old. He had been wanting to retire for several years, but didn't have a succession plan to make that happen. In 1992, before he died, we were negotiating, a plan to buy him out and allow him to retire.
Mm-hmm.
Then he died, and we finished the negotiations with his widow. So we put together the buyout deal, and that was July 23rd, 1993, when all the paperwork was done.
Mm-hmm.
We took over. From that day until today, the philosophy of the ownership of this company is, as owners, it's one man, one vote.
Is it a private company? It's not
Yes.
public, is it?
No, it's private.
Okay.
There are currently 7 owners.
And you are one?
I'm one. Jason's one. For the last 30 years, it's kind of been, in our ownership group, another evolution. So we've retired out of the original 4 of us that bought it in 1993, and they've all retired. We have it structured to where we have a succession plan. This company's not for sale. It's never going to be for sale. It's going to be always owned by a group of employees that work here. And we have a structured system where when it's time to retire, that person retires and their shares are bought back by the corporation. The ownership's also an evolution. Our philosophy, like I said, our management style is one man, one vote. We meet every month. Any major decisions we vote on, 7 minds are better than one. Our belief or our philosophy, whatever you want to call it's always been, always do what's right.
And that's hard to do sometimes.
Exactly. It's easier said than done. But if you truly operate that way, even if it means something painful,
Sure.
You make a mistake and...
Because sometimes you cut corners because it's not as painful and certainly not as costly, but sometimes it costs more and it's harder to do the right thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it pays off in the long run. Because
Sure.
You have loyal
long
customers, you
run.
have loyal employees. When we make decisions that's best for our whole company, not 1 or 2 people.
Sure.
The first group of us was myself, Kent Reddington, Bob Farmer, and Dennis Seib. And then the first one of the group to retire was Dennis Seib. We brought in a new partner, Roger Bullock. Brought him in 1998. And then Jason came into the group. Steve Macer, Dan Baldwin, and in recent years, a younger generation, my son Nathan, Andy Reddington, Kent's son, and then Dustin Shaw. They're all about the same age now. They're all mid to late 30s. So that's been kind of the history of the ownership.
I think about 1912 and I think about, Wilbur Wright of the Wright brothers. Wilbur Wright died in 1912. The Titanic sunk in 1912. Woodrow Wilson, elected president in 1912, served the country through World War I, and Evapar was born. And the fact that it's still marching along more than 100 years later, I do think it was super smart of the Kramer brothers in the beginning. You think about what was going on in 1912, the emerging automotive market, the horseless carriage, and many people didn't even think it was going to survive, but it certainly did. I think it was really smart to get into the business of auto parts in that era. How do you see it going back that far?
Oh, definitely. It was back in 1912. They were evolving into a new market. I mean, it's no different than us for the last 30, 40, 50 years evolving into non-automotive markets. The world's always changing, and markets change, products change, people change, society changes. And if you don't change with it, you're going to get left standing still in the dust. That's been, the key to our success, is whether it was in the days of the Kramer brothers and then subsequent generations since then, and then for the last 30, 40 years, just constant evolution.
Right. And it seemed to happen right away, all the way through. Like you get up into the 1930s and 40s, and you know everybody is an auto parts distributor or selling auto parts now. I mean, you look at today, you can buy auto parts at Kroger, you know, a grocery store. But they saw that, and then it's like they evolved into what I believe in the 30s and 40s, like a wholesaler that sold auto parts to all the people now selling auto parts.
Yeah, they
staying
did.
a step ahead of the curve.
Yeah, they were, initially it was retail, but it evolved into wholesale, where they were supplying, you know, Schaefer and Paul and auto parts in Tell City, Indiana, or, you know, what we used to call them jobbers. You know, the smaller auto parts stores in the smaller towns, we called them jobbers. We were a warehouse distributor supplying to them. Yeah, today there's literally nothing left in this business that's the same as what it was 109 years ago. We don't do anything automotive. We don't do anything.
Which is why you survived.
Which is why we have survived and thrived and grown over all the years.
In the 1930s, you guys, now you're really expanding into the engine machine shop and engine rebuilding operation to serve not only the automotive market, but now you're getting into the agricultural side of industry, which is really super smart of the evolvement, because now you're talking about the food, carving into the food chain.
Yeah, agricultural, but also the oil fields. And you have to remember back in those days, back in the 1930s and 40s and 50s, the oil fields in southern Illinois were booming. And so a lot of oil field customers, engines used in the oil field, and then also coal mining.
Yeah, coal mining was big in southern Illinois. Huge.
Yeah. So it was, you know, oil fields and coal mining were a big part of the company back 50, 60, 70 years ago.
Yeah, and you think about all this expansion taking place in this company, talking about the 1930s. I mean, that's in the heart of the Great Depression. I mean, to expand in that era seems really gutsy to me. How do you see it?
Well, yeah, but it's no different than us. I mean, we've been through several, you know, the dot-com bust of 2001, 2008, with the crash then. We've actually continued to grow every year for the past 30 years, even through those significant economic downturns.
You have didn't affect the company at all? I mean, you just bounced right through it, because a lot of people didn't survive.
Didn't phase us.
Really?
And COVID basically hasn't phased us. There's been difficulties caused by COVID, but our business has survived fine.
Take you back to our training room area. Our training is classroom and hands-on training for dealers that are in our market area. And so with that, we had enough trainings per year. We had to build our own training center that would allow us to set up more units for them to be able to work on.
What are you teaching, training?
So complete disassembly and repair work of generator and Generac generator systems.
Got it.
So anything from an engine rebuild to the generator end, to the control panels and transfer switches. When a technician leaves this program, they are certified to do warranty work and repair work on emergency standby systems.
Hey, you got a full class here.
We do.
That's nice. All these people will be certified technicians when they walk out this door eventually?
That is correct. And basically this is one of 3 different training classes that they will be able to take here. It's very educational.
Well, that, and you can walk out and make a living too.
That's right.
That's really important. You need skilled technicians.
Absolutely.
And I think it's cool that you train them in-house. It's perfect. You're not just training Evapar peeps.
Right.
They're coming to you to train for their companies outside of Evapar.
Correct. We are a support center in Indiana, Kentucky, Illinois, and Missouri for the Generac product.
Wow.
So we have dealers all in those areas that come to us to get their training to be able to work on this product.
We're a distributor. In the last 30 to 50 years, our primary business is being a distributor of products. So standby generator systems, compressed air systems, and industrial engines. In the last 30 years has been a total evolvement towards standby generators, compressed air, and industrial engines.
I wonder where the name Evapar came from. Who came up with that?
There was a company
Does it
here.
mean something?
It's just an acronym.
Yeah.
EVAPAR, Evansville Auto Parts,
Oh.
Evapar.
I gotcha.
Um,
So the Evansville Auto Parts Company was born against the Ohio River in some building that no longer exists. Take me from there. Where'd it go?
Evansville Auto Parts was at the riverfront, at the corner of Vine Street. I've got pictures here of that building in the 37 flood. Don't know all the details, but they cut some kind of deal between the city and Mr. Kramer where he relocated the business from the riverfront over to the site on East Riverside Drive. Part of that whole deal was Inland Marina, which is the marina down off Waterworks Road. They were digging it out, so all the dirt they were digging out of that marina, they brought over to the site on Riverside to fill it and level that site, so that that building could be built on that piece of property. That's where we were when I went to work, was in that building.
In 78.
In 78.
Mm-hmm.
They moved from the riverfront to that building in 1968.
Okay.
So when we left, so then we bought this ground here in 1997 or 98 when we bought this land. It was 8 acres. Because we started construction on the building here in 98, and we moved in here in June of 99. And we've been here ever since. We've expanded it several times. It was originally about 28,000 square feet, and now we're up around 40,000 square feet with what we've added. Had several additions over the years. So then this became our home in 1999. We opened in Louisville in 2002, something like that. Indianapolis and Fort Wayne 2009, Memphis 2016, and St. Louis 2019.
All the way through, it seems to me, the company's been very conscious about staying ahead of the curve, kind of like, what's the world going to look like 10 years from now? And that's the direction we need to go. We can't sit still. That's got to be part of the company's success, staying ahead of the curve, yes?
Oh, no question. Yeah, no question.
Yeah.
Standby generators. I mean, we got into that business starting in the 1950s, but back in the 1950s, that was a very small market. You had a generator at a nursing home.
It probably didn't look like it even made sense back then, but down the road.
It was a very niche thing back then.
Yeah.
The quantity of systems and the size of systems that were being installed back then, nothing compared to today. It's a very growth-oriented market. We represent several manufacturers. I found it kind of interesting. You were reading off some of the things from our history. A lot of the manufacturers that you named from back in the 50s that we took on distributorship for don't even exist today. Peabody Barnes, Continental Engines, every one of the names you mentioned does not exist today.
Sounds like you need to evolve.
The evolution thing. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
I would say as far as leadership style, we're blue collar. We all got our sleeves rolled up, and we're all...
That resonates well across companies.
We're all working and pitching in with everybody. And,
sure.
We've grown tremendously in 30 years. The other thing is when you truly operate by the motto or the philosophy of always do what's right, and that includes your employees, you stop and look back at how many lives the company has impacted.
And families.
Families.
Yeah.
In a positive way.
Sure.
Providing careers and providing an environment where they want to come to work.
Is there any one thing that's been most challenging about being the president of Evapar?
I would say Jason, as the new president, has probably been more challenging in this past 2 years than I've ever been.
Oh, God, he got the Corona COVID era.
He takes over as president, and immediately the proverbial stuff hits the fan.
Oh, my God, I can't imagine coming in that way.
So we've got a engine dyno room as well, where we can actually bring engines in and put them on, give them some brakes and just see what kind of horsepower they can generate. So as we've continued to grow, our parts warehousing is constantly evolving, and we're running out of space there, so we're expanding out here. We recently
expanding, meaning you're building on?
Absolutely. So we just recently built a separate warehouse
Really?
here. And some of the fun part of expanding is constantly working within local guidelines and restrictions. And so as a separate building here, we're able to store some of our larger rental pieces of equipment that would go in place if a customer's unit goes down and we've got to repair it. We got a lead time issue on parts.
It can sit here for a while if it
sit
needs
here,
to.
and then we can provide them with a rental compressor generator, and they can allow it to be their air supply or their generator supply. So,
More expansion plans coming?
especially at other locations. So we are starting to spread out some of our warehousing and get them to other locations instead of all being centralized here.
How has the supply chain issue afflicting the world right now affected Evapar?
Well, for the most part, we could see some of that coming, and we were able to order ahead of time, and we try to make large stock orders to overcome these challenges.
Is there any help on the horizon? Do you see it getting better, or are you still in the same place you were, say, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago?
It's
supply chain wise.
Supply chain right now, it's probably worse than what it was 3 months ago.
I believe it.
We're expecting middle of 22 to early 23 before we see any real relief.
Is that an electric motor?
That is an electric motor.
It is, okay.
100 horse.
100 horse?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yes, sir. This was just a mezzanine up here.
You carved it up into offices then?
Yeah, because we outgrew all of our other offices, and so
It's very nice.
over there.
Is this your family?
It is. Yes.
Awesome.
And a new grandson that was just delivered.
Really?
2 weeks ago.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Your first one?
Yes.
That's pretty exciting stuff. You're a young grandpa.
Yeah.
You're going to be a great grandpappy in no time, mister. Yeah. You doing all right in here?
Yeah, doing fine. How
Oh,
you doing?
good. I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you. You busy? There's always something, right?
Yeah, that's exactly
You're not going to run out of stuff to do?
No,
Okay,
no,
I won't worry
stuff
about
to
you
do
then.
around here.
Okay. Thank you.
This one being our headquarters, all of our accounting team is downstairs as well. So, a lot of the support for the other branches is ran here.
Hey, Jason, thank you
Thank
for the
you.
tour. I appreciate your time today and wishing you all the best as the new president of Evapar.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet.
The hardest thing about a business, and this is true for everybody, is people.
Managing people.
Dealing with people.
Sure.
Finding good people that are the right character and the right fit for your team. It's a constant process trying to find.
Is it easy to see it right away?
No.
Or
It takes we tell ourselves it takes about 6 months to know whether we were right or wrong.
really?
Our employees are not just, these are skills and talents. Our service technicians, our parts people, our sales people, they have to be very sharp. They have to be knowledgeable and capable.
You have to care.
They have to care. It's not just technical abilities. It's also character and
Sure.
attitude and motivation and having drive. For the last 30 years, it's been a constant looking for those needles in the haystack.
Yeah. Are they getting harder to find?
And the last 2 years has changed this world unbelievably.
Because everybody's looking for employees.
Well, everyone's looking for employees, but it's changed the mindset of people.
Yeah.
Especially the young people. The mindset that they're entitled, they shouldn't have to work, just hand it to me.
That doesn't sound like the American way to me. That's not how we built this country. In leaving the company, Dave, how will you fill up your days? Is that going to be hard to do when you're the president of the company? All these years, these decades, on the way out, what do I do now? Or
We've had an orderly, planned succession plan. We actually started working on the succession plan right at 10 years ago. Went full throttle with the succession plan 2 years ago. Jason took over as president 2 years ago. And literally, I'm more in a consulting support role now. And Jason's leading the company. So there's been a couple years here already where that transition is well down the road here.
Sounds like you guys did it right. The transitory process from one president to another, you didn't just pack up and walk out. It was a 2-year process.
But you think about most small businesses, and I consider us still small, even at the size we're at, but most small businesses don't have a plan at all. The ownership reaches the retirement age, and then they're looking for some sugar daddy to come in and buy the company.
Yeah.
And that's never good for anybody. I mean, it may be good for the guy selling out, but it's not good for the employees of the company. So part of our succession plan is that's not going to happen here. We're going to have a structured, orderly plan, succession plan, not just to retire me, but to retire the guys before me and to retire the guys after me. So 30 years from now, they'll still be succeeding.
No, well, what are we doing on the way? Are you going fishing, or what are you going to do?
Well, my wife has a lot of plans.
Does she?
A lot of travel.
Sounds like you just better get on board and go.
Yep.
Yeah.
So she has a lot of plans to travel, and
Yeah.
I
Where do you
enjoy
want to
traveling.
go?
We're going to Hawaii in January.
Oh, that's a good start. Good choice there.